Okay. Hello everyone, very good morning. I welcome you all at India's most comprehensive preparation platform for all competitive exams, that is BYJU'S exam prep. So guys, today we are going to discuss the previous year questions from propositional logic. So we are going to understand that what type of questions are asked from this topic, that is propositional logic. Okay, so this brief introduction of myself. My name is Vishal Rawatiya. I have 10 plus years of teaching experience. Following are the achievements and areas of expertise. This is the link for my Telegram group, or you can simply search CS by Vishal Rawatiya. You will find this group. You can join this group to ask any question related to GATE exam, whether it is CS paper or DA paper. And apart from that, you will also get all these things by joining this Telegram group. Okay. BYJU'S exam prep is going to conduct a national scholarship test on 15th of October between 9 a.m. to 9 p.m. Do participate in this scholarship test. If you do good, then you may avail up to 90% off on all our programs. Apart from that, Abhinav Negi sir is going to conduct a workshop on 11th of October at 7:30 p.m. In this workshop, sir is going to discuss that is it still possible to complete the syllabus for GATE 2024 exam timely, that you get sufficient time for revision and practice. So if you have any doubt related to that, then you guys can join this workshop. Now, to participate in the test and to join the workshop, you just need to register on the BYJU'S exam prep app using your mobile number. It's absolutely free. And you can also appear for the test series being conducted by the BYJU'S exam. Okay, let's start with the very first question, guys. Yesterday also I have discussed few of the questions of this particular topic, but in between there was some error in the session. Therefore, I am again discussing this particular questions apart from some other questions. Okay, so let's start with the very first question. What is the converse of the following assertion? So generally the questions which will be asked from the topic propositional logic will involve the concept of implication. This generally it will happen. So अगर मैं लास्ट ईयर के क्वेश्चंस देखूं तो 50% ऑफ टाइम implications से चीज़ें सॉल्व होती हैं, ठीक है. इसीलिए जब मैंने टॉपिक डिस्कस किया था तब भी आपसे बोला था कि implication का कॉन्सेप्ट, इक्विवेलेंस के कॉन्सेप्ट और रूल्स ऑफ इन्फरेंस, दे आर वेरी वेरी इंपॉर्टेंट, राइट. चलो तो देखते हैं व्हाट इज दी कन्वर्स. तो इम्प्लीकेशन को हम कैसे डिनोट करते हैं सर? इम्प्लीकेशन इज P implies Q. इसके तीन डिफरेंट नोटेशंस होते हैं. एक होता है हमारा कन्वर्स विल बी Q implies P. एक होता है इनवर्स विल बी नेगेशन ऑफ P implies नेगेशन ऑफ Q. एक होता है कॉन्ट्रापोजिटिव, दैट इज नेगेशन ऑफ Q implies नेगेशन ऑफ P, राइट. So the implication is not equivalent to its converse, implication is not equivalent to its inverse. इन दोनों के इक्वल नहीं होती, लेकिन आपका जो P implies Q का ट्रुथ टेबल है वो एग्जैक्टली सेम होता है उसके कॉन्ट्रापोजिटिव के. इसका मतलब नेगेशन ऑफ Q implies नेगेशन ऑफ P. Sir, this topic was CS only, right? Not involved for ECE student. Yes, Venkat, this is for CSE only. This topic is for CSE only. This is the concept of discrete mathematics. In discrete mathematics, we study propositional logic. So for that purpose, yeah. But any student can use this concept for the concept of implications in the aptitude. So aptitude में काम आ सकते हैं, but they are not in the syllabus of the ECE exam. Okay. So this is your converse. So for P implies Q, the converse is Q implies P. Again, they have written the implication in a different format. So, right, if I say P if Q, please. If I say P if Q, then this will be equivalent to Q implies P. P if Q will be equivalent to Q implies P. But when I write P only if Q, why this is so? What are the necessary conditions, sufficient condition? That is not the thing at this point of time. Sir, take DSA. Okay, Venkat, definitely I'll plan for DBMS and DSA. Okay, so P only if Q will be what? Sir, it will be P implies Q only, sufficient condition, right? So please try to understand. This is the format which is given, that I stay only if you go. So if I look for the equivalent of this, then the equivalent in the implication form will become what? Sir, implication form में ये बन जाएगा if I stay, that is I stay then you go, I stay then you go. Now this is the implication. Now what is the converse? So for this is converse, right? So that's what is being asked, that what is the converse. So the converse of this will be what? Sir, you go then, or let's simply write it in the form of implication so that it does not become difficult. So you go then I stay. Clear? Okay, so this is the converse of the statement. So where do I see this? Please. You go then I stay. Please try to understand. I just told you P if Q is equivalent to Q implies P. P if Q is equivalent to Q implies P. So यहाँ पर देखो I stay if you go will be same as you go implies I stay. Yes, Q implies P. If you say Q implies P will become P if Q. So you go implies I stay will become I stay if you go. I stay if you go. Therefore, the correct answer for this will be option A. Simple concept, not too difficult, but if you are new to this particular subject, then you just need to focus on all these things, that what are the different things with respect to implication: converse, opposite or inverse, and contrapositive, right? And this simple things, that what is only if, what is if, what is unless. There will be a question of unless also, so don't worry, we'll cover that unless concept also. Okay, now the another type of question is that given some statements, they may ask you to convert the statement in the formula form. That given a statement, just write it in the formula form. So what do I mean? If I say I stay only if you go, then if I stay represent S, if you go represent G, then it will eventually become what, sir? It is S implies G. It is S implies G. Why? Because it will become I stay, then you go. So I stay will be S implies you go is G. Right? So that's the idea. That's what the representation is. So देखो यहाँ पर क्या बोल रहा है? Let PQR denotes the statement. So this is your statement P. This is your statement Q. This is your statement R, respectively. Then the statement, it is raining and it is pleasant. It is raining and it is pleasant. So it is given. It is not, sorry, it is not raining and it is pleasant. And. It is not pleasant only if, and it is not pleasant only if it is raining and it is cold. So it's a single statement. This, after this and, it is a single statement. And it is not pleasant only if, so it becomes a part of the same statement. So it is not pleasant only if it is raining and it is cold, right? So only if it is raining and it is cold. So only if it is raining and it is cold. So they become the part of the same statement, single statement. Now, it is not raining. So when we say P is it is raining, so it is not raining will become negation of P. And it is pleasant. Pleasant is represented using R, and will become and. It is pleasant will become R. So this is okay. Negation of P and R. The whole and with whatever is written in this right hand side part. Whatever is written in this right hand side part. Sir, what is written in this single statement? It is not pleasant only if. Now again, only if means if it is not pleasant, then this will be the thing. So again, only if, so whatever is written before only if will be the antecedent of the implication. So it is not pleasant. So it is representing, it is pleasant is represented by R. So it is not pleasant will be represented by negation of R. Only if, so it will become implication. It is raining and it is cold. It is raining will be represented by P. It is cold will be represented by Q. So it will become P and Q. P and Q. So do you find this formula anywhere? देखो, negation of P and R, 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 negation of P, whatever, and R, and these two are OR. So this two will not be the valid answer. Gone. Then what? Negation of R implies P and Q. Negation of R implies P and Q. Negation of R implies P and Q. So the correct answer is option A, and the option B, the first portion is matching, but another portion is inverse. So if here it is if it is if rather than only if, अगर यहाँ पर if होता only if की जगह, तो आपका ऑप्शन B करेक्ट हो जाता. Clear? Because if it is if, then whatever is after if will become antecedent of the implication, and whatever is before if will become consequent of the implication. Clear? So option B will be true with respect to if. If it is if, then you can say that this will be the answer. Clear? Let's move to the next question. I hope you have realized that आपको क्या करना है यहाँ पर. So generally मैं बताऊँ किनको दिक्कत होती है, जो इंग्लिश लैंग्वेज को इंटरप्रेट करने में जिन लोगों को प्रॉब्लम होती है, उन लोगों को इस टाइप के स्टेटमेंट्स को सॉल्व करने में दिक्कत आती है कि किन चीज़ों को क्लब करना है और किन चीज़ों को क्लब नहीं करना है. सो प्लीज ट्राई टू अंडरस्टैंड कि रीडिंग कॉम्प्रिहेंशन को इम्प्रूव करो. इन स्टेटमेंट्स को पढ़ करके आपको समझ में आएगा कि कौन सा एक सिंगल स्टेटमेंट है और कौन से दो अलग अलग स्टेटमेंट को करेक्ट करने की कोशिश कर रहा है यूजिंग द करेक्टिव. क्लियर? सो दैट्स द ऑब्जेक्टिव हियर कि अगर कभी भी स्टेटमेंट की फॉर्म में गिवन हो और फॉर्मूला पूछे तो स्टेटमेंट को सही इंटरप्रेट करना कि क्या चीजें किस तरीके से रिलेटेड हैं, कौन सा एक सिंगल स्टेटमेंट है, कौन से दो सिंगल स्टेटमेंट बड़े एक से ज्यादा कनेक्टिव का यूज करके फॉर्म हुए हैं, और उनके बाद फिर वो दोनों जो बड़े स्टेटमेंट या फिर जिनको हम प्रोपोजिशनल फॉर्मूला बोलते हैं वो जो फॉर्म हुए हैं वो किस कनेक्टिव का यूज होकर के कनेक्ट हो रहे हैं, वो आइडेंटिफाई करना इज द क्रक्स. Okay, let's go to the third question. Sir, this type of questions may also be asked. Oh, I just missed something. Let me define the option B and D. Let me define the option B and D. F1 is unsatisfiable and F2 is satisfiable. Let me write here if they are not clearly visible, because F1 is unsatisfiable and F2 is satisfiable. Option D is F1 and F2 both are satisfiable. Sorry for this blunder. Generally we converted into the format, but it's my bad. Okay, so when do we say that the statement is satisfiable? So please try to understand, there are some definitions. One is satisfiable. So when do we say some statement is satisfiable? Sir, the statement is satisfiable if it is true for at least one case. True for at least one case, right? And unsatisfiable false for all case. When I say false for all case, then it actually means contradiction. When I say false for all case, then it actually means contradiction. Now, what do I mean by valid? Sir, one more term is valid. Valid. So it says false for all case. Valid means true for all case. That means it is a tautology. That means it is a tautology. Got the idea? So look at this. P implies negation P. Please try to understand, if P is false. If P is false, then it is guaranteed that negation of P will become true. That is guaranteed that the negation of P will become true. In that case, F1 will be true, because true implies false will be true. But if P is true, then it is guaranteed that negation of P will become false. Negation of P will become false. So true implies false will be false. So it is true for at least one case, it is false for at least one case. It is actually a contingency. It is actually a contingency. So please try to understand. Oh, some power issue. Let me please continue. I believe that things should be resolved soon. So F1 is what? F1, is it satisfiable? Yes, sir. F1 is satisfiable. So F1 is satisfiable is okay. If somebody says F1 is unsatisfiable, then it is not true. F1 is unsatisfiable, it is not true. Then F1 is unsatisfiable, no. And now it is saying both are satisfiable. So let's check whether both are satisfiable or not. Now, both are satisfiable or not. So let's look for F2. let's look for F2. Sir, is it satisfiable? Please try to understand. If P implies negation P, if P implies negation P, is it true? If P implies negation P is true, means if it is false and it is true. So let me open it for you so that you will understand the significance of this. Sir. So this will become what? So it will become negation of P or with negation of P. If I implication, what is P implies Q? Sir, P implies Q is equivalent to negation of P or with Q. So P implies negation of P will be nothing but P implies or with negation of P, then or. So it will be what? Negation of P will be P or P. P or P. Please try to understand. Negation of P or with negation P will be nothing but negation of P. Now P or with P will be nothing but P. So P or with negation P is guaranteed to be true all the time. So do you realize that F2 will always be true irrespective of the different values? F2 will always be true. So something which is always true, will become valid. So F2 is actually valid and F1 is satisfiable. And F1 is satisfiable. So the correct answer is F1 is satisfiable. Now, please try to understand, if F2 is valid, then F2 is also satisfiable. If F2 is valid, then F2 is also satisfiable because it is true for at least one case. But the best thing here is that both the options are given. So A is saying F1 is satisfiable and F2 is valid, whereas D is saying F1 and F2 both are satisfiable. So which one is correct? Sir, both of them are correct. Both of them are correct. But which one is more correct? Which one is more correct? Sir, option A is giving me some more information that F2 is true for at least one case, but apart from that, F2 is true. F2 is actually true for all the cases. So if F2 is true for all the cases, is it a correct statement? Yes, sir. F2 is true for all the cases. It is not just true for some cases. F2 is true for all the cases. Therefore, D is also a right answer. A is also a right answer. But most appropriate answer in this case will be option A. Most appropriate answer will be option A. Let's look at the question number 4. Look at question number 4. Yes, I told you that we should not waste time. It will be back in some time. So it's back. Okay. Let P and Q be two propositions. P and Q are two propositions. Consider the following two formulas in propositional logic. One is statement formula S1. This is one formula. And this is another formula. Which of the following choice is correct? So just like previous question, but this time it is asking related to tautology. So whether you say valid in the concept of propositional logic, something which is valid is actually a tautology. Something which is valid is actually a tautology. Predicate logic does not support this statement. Things are valid, but still they may not be tautology, because tautology is a term which is defined only for propositional logic, right? So anything you learn, or any single thing which you learn in the predicate logic, but it is not related to propositional logic, cannot be used to define a predicate statement as a tautology. So that's something. So let P and Q be two propositions. So let's check that what is the correct statement. It is saying both S1 and S2 are tautology. Only S1 is a tautology, but S2 is not a tautology. S1 is not a tautology, S2 is a tautology, and etc. Right? So please try to understand this. Sir, for P implies Q to be a tautology, what is necessary? Sir, P implies Q to be a tautology. Whenever P is true, Q should also be true. Whenever P is true, Q should also be true. That's one thing. Whenever P is true, Q should also be true. Or you can say, if Q is false, whenever Q is false, if it is guaranteed that P will also be false. Whenever Q is false, if it is guaranteed that P will also be false, then the situation that P is true and Q is false will not arrive. So the only constraint is that true implies false type of situation should not arrive. So please try to understand. The problem is Q being false. The problem is with Q being false. If Q is true, then the statement will always be true. Implication will always be true no matter what. Right? So समझते हैं कि what if Q is false? What if this Q is false? Let's assume that Q is false. So if Q is false, the condition is that for this statement P implies Q to be a tautology, P should also be false. If P becomes true when Q is false, if there is any situation, in which P can become true when Q is false, then P implies Q will not remain a tautology. Then P implies Q will not remain a tautology. So let's assume that Q is false, and let's check when Q is false, is it possible that the LHS of this implication becomes true? So let's check. So if this Q is false, so yes sir, this is false. Now Q is false. Now what is this value P? Sir, whatever this is, Q, whatever this value is P or with false. If you or a false statement with any statement P, then P or with false will be P only. P or with false will be P only. Yes or no? Whatever. Sir, this is false. What will be the truth value of P or with false? Sir, whatever the truth value of P is, if P is false, then P or with false will become false. If P is true, then true or with false will become true. So this is P. And with. So this is the statement. And on the LHS of this conjunction, you have a negation P. Now what is negation of P and with P? Negation of P and with P. Sir, it is and operation, it is conjunction, and we know that at least one of P and negation P will be false. At least P and negation P will be false. Therefore, this conjunction will eventually return false. So it is guaranteed that whenever Q is false, LHS will also be false. That is, whenever the consequent is false, it is guaranteed that antecedent of that implication will also be false. That means the implication can never be false. Implication will always be true. You understanding the point? जब हमारा Q false है, तो हमने बोला कि let's assume Q false है. तो जब तक हमारा Q false है, what is happening with the LHS part of the implication? So if we consider that Q is false, then we observe that the overall LHS of the implication is also false. The situation that will arrive as false implies false, and the false implies false will be true. Now, sir, what if Q is true? Arey Baba, if Q is true, then you don't need to worry about LHS. If Q is true, the implication will always be true. If Q is true, implication will always be true, whether P is true or P is false. Clear? So that's the idea. So S1, we can eventually realize that S1 is a tautology. S1 is a tautology. Let's look for statement S2. Sir, the problem may arrive when Q is true. If RHS can become false, then the implication will become false. See, please try to understand. The single value in the statement S1, the single value is, or the single propositional proposition is on the RHS. Therefore, I thought in terms of Q. That is, I thought in terms of consequent. But here, the single propositional statement is in the LHS. Therefore, let's assume that what happens if Q is true? If Q is true, if the RHS of this implication remains true, if Q is true, and whenever Q is true, if RHS of the implication remains true, then it will also be a tautology. Because if Q is false, then whatever the value of RHS, it will remain a tautology. So let's assume that Q is true, and we just need to observe that what will happen with RHS when Q is true. So this Q is true. Now when we say P or with true, sir, what will be the value? Sir, P or with true, whatever, if you or something with true, it will become true. Now, sir, there we have a negation P. And with true. If you perform the conjunction or and operation with true of anything, then the result will be same as that anything. Therefore, the result will be negation P. If negation P is true, then and will come out as true. If negation P is false, then and will return as false. Right? So the truth value of this particular thing will be exactly same as the truth value of negation P, whatever it is. Now, please try to understand, negation P may be true, negation P may be false. Negation P may be true, negation P may be false. So when negation P is true, this S2, when negation P is true, let's see, when negation P is true, S2 value will be true, and when negation P is false, S2 value will be false. So this S2 will be true for some cases, this S2 will be false for some cases. Therefore, it is satisfiable. It is contingency, but it is not a tautology. It is not a tautology, because I can actually say when Q equals to true and negation of P is equals to false. Negation of P is false means P is actually true. Negation of P is false means P is actually true. So when Q equals to true and negation of P is false, S2 is false. S2 is false. Therefore, not a tautology. Something which can be false for at least one case, that cannot be a tautology. Right? So what do we know? Sir, S1 comes out as tautology, but S2 is not a tautology. So S1 is a tautology, but S2 is not a tautology. Option B is the correct option. Clear? Option B is the correct option. I hope this is clear. Let's move to the next statement. Now it is asking, wow, very good question. Which of the following propositional logic formula is it true? Look at this. Which of the following propositional logic formula is it true? So which among this four will be true when exactly two of P, Q and R are true? When exactly two of P, Q and R are true. So please try to understand. This will require a lot of analysis. Exactly two of these three propositional statements are true. It is not possible that all three are true. It is not the case that all three are true. So, but the idea is, it is just saying that which of the following propositional logical formula is true when exactly two of P, Q are in true. So it may be true when more than three are true, but it should not be false when exactly two of them are true. It should not be false. So it may be true in some other cases also. That's the logic. It may be true in some other cases also, but it should definitely be true. The formula should definitely be true when exactly two of these three are true. When exactly two of these three are true. Now my question is, what exactly, which exactly two? Sir, we don't know which exactly two. So please try to understand. How many possible combinations? Sir, you can choose exactly two in three different ways. You can choose exactly two in three different cases. So either you can say that PQ will be true, or you can say PR will be true, or you can say PQ, PR. Only three, sorry. And QR will be true. These are the three cases when exactly 3C2. You can choose two out of three. So you can, one case is PQ is true and PQ is true, and let's assume R is false. Sir, PR is true and Q is false, and QR is true and P is false. So these are the three different cases with respect to which you need to check, you need to analyze, right? Sir, please try to understand. Please try to understand. There is an AND with R, and there's AND with negation R. There's AND with R. There's AND with negation R. Yes or no? So, sir, one of these two will be true and another one will be false. One of these two will be true and another will be false. So please try to understand. If I assume that PQ are true and R is false, then what will happen? Sir, PQ is true and R is false, so this LHS will become false because R is false. But PQ are true and R is false, therefore negation of R will also become true. Therefore, RHS of this will be true. So apart from that, let's assume if P and R are true. Let's assume if P and R are true. So if R is true, P is true, but Q is false. Because Q is false, this whole thing will become false. Whatever and false and with anything will be false. But what happens with the RHS? Sir, we are saying that P is true and R is true, therefore negation of R will become false. P is true and negation of R. So if R is true, then negation of R will become false. So do you realize one thing? do you realize one thing, that in this particular case, that is P and R are true, exactly two are true but one is false, exactly two are true but one is false, then what will happen in this case, sir? P is true and Q is false, therefore it will be false. R is true, so it will be true, so false, and with true will be false. Then, sir, P, what is happening here? Sir, P is actually true, Q is false. So if any one of this is false, then the whole thing will become false. The whole thing will become false. So LHS is false as well as RHS is false. So false or with false will be false. So if exactly two of these three are true in a way that P and R are true but Q is false, then this statement becomes false. Therefore, this cannot be the correct answer. This cannot be the correct answer. I hope you understand that. I hope you understand that. Please try to understand. Sir, is it that time taking? Please look at this. Sir, this RHS part is the same. This RHS part is the same for all. This RHS part is same for all. So it will give you some hint कि किस तरीके से हम चीज़ों को optimize कर सकते हैं in terms of time, right? So sir, this is OR, this is OR, this is OR, and this one is AND. So please try to understand, when exactly two of them are true, when exactly two of them are true, in that case, if RHS is true, in that case, if RHS is true, then whatever the LHS is, it will remain true if the conjunction, or sorry, if the operation is disjunction between LHS and RHS, right? So that's okay. That statement 1 is false. Let's look at statement 2. Let's look at statement 2. Please try to understand, when R is true, when R is true, okay, so R is true, and we are taking P and Q as the opposite values. We are taking P and Q as opposite values. So if P and Q are taking the opposite values, what will happen? If P and Q are taking the opposite values, then P by conditional Q will be false. Therefore, negation of that false will become true. So true and with true will become true. So in this case, as long as, please try to understand, as long as R is true and other two are taking the opposite value, as long as R is true and other two are taking the opposite value, what will happen? Sir, if R is true, because there is a conjunction with R, so R is true, here also R is true, so R is true, so this will be true, this will be true. P and Q and P are taking the opposite values, therefore it will be false. Therefore, negation of P will be true. Negation of P will be true. So this thing will be true. R is already true. R is already true. So in these two cases, option B will be true. In these two cases, option B will be true, because here we see OR. Here we observe an OR. So whatever OR, whatever the value of RHS is, if LHS is true, we don't need to worry about that, right? Please try to understand, when both P and Q are true and R is false, when both P and Q are true, both P and Q are true and R is false, so negation of R will become true. Negation of R will become true. So if these are the two cases, option B is guaranteed to be true. If first one is case, then if these are the two cases, the second and third, if second and third is the case, then with respect to option B, LHS is guaranteed to be true. LHS is guaranteed to be true. And when the case is the case 1, RHS is guaranteed to be true. So these are the only three cases when exactly two of them are true. When exactly two of them are true. And we can actually see that in any of these three situations, option B is guaranteed to be true. Option B is guaranteed to be true. So that's the logic, and you will eventually realize that option B is the correct answer. Clear? You just need to understand that RHS will be true only when P and Q are true. With respect to all these formulas, the RHS will be true when both P and Q are true, but R is false. So this is the case. In the first case, the RHS of all these four statements will be true. So you only need to focus on LHS. That in other two cases, which among these four is ensuring that LHS will make the overall propositional logic as true. Clear? So the option B is the correct answer. Let's look at the next question. So this is related to unless. Please try to understand. P unless Q. P unless Q. What does it say? So sometimes we don't understand this. So P, we assume that P is true and Q also. Generally we say that P and Q represents true. So P should be true unless Q is true. What does it mean? P should be true. So a student who generally thinks in the English language will be very much comfortable with this particular thing. But for students, P is true unless Q means P true होगा जब तक Q true नहीं है. P will be true जब तक Q true नहीं है. P will be true जब तक Q true नहीं है. So please try to understand. P can be true जब तक Q true नहीं है. इसका मतलब क्या? Q true नहीं है means Q is false. Q is false implies P. Please try to understand. Is there any correlation between these two? Sir, P should be true unless P should be true unless Q is true. P should be true unless Q is true. Means P को true होना चाहिए जब तक कि Q true नहीं है. P को true होना चाहिए जब तक if Q becomes true, what will happen? If Q becomes true, what will be the scenario? Sir, this is something which you need to understand. If I just try to explain the same concept in terms of a negation, it will be more easier for you to realize. If I say P unless negation Q says false. Negation Q says Q is false. So हम बोलेंगे P should be true जब तक कि Q false नहीं है. P should be true जब तक कि Q false नहीं है. अगर Q false हो जाता है तो P कोई भी वैल्यू ले सकता है. P should be true unless Q is false. P should be true unless Q is false. Getting the idea? So जब तक P should be true जब तक कि Q false नहीं है. P should be true जब तक कि Q false नहीं है. Please try to understand. और अगर Q false हो जाए तो P की वैल्यू कुछ भी हो सकती है. और अगर आप बोल रहे हो कि P should be true जब तक कि Q false नहीं है, इसका मतलब जब तक Q true है P should be true. If you are saying that P should be true जब तक Q false नहीं है, इसका मतलब जब तक Q true है P should be true. So जब तक Q true है P should be true. That means if Q is true then P should be true. So this will be same as Q implies P. This will be same as Q implies P. Do you realize the interpretation? That P unless negation Q will be same as Q implies P. Similarly, if it is P unless Q, then it will become negation of Q. So P unless Q will become negation of Q implies P. Please try to understand. Please try to understand that if I write P unless Q as negation of Q implies P, so this can also be written as negation of P implies Q contrapositive. That means P should be true unless Q is not true. P should be true unless Q is not true. So if Q is not true, that means if Q is false, then P should be true unless Q is not true. So if Q is false, then P should be true. Clear? So that's the logical implication. Similarly, you can also write it in the form negation of P implies negation of Q. But these are the things which you should understand. That P should be true unless negation Q means P true होना चाहिए जब तक कि Q false unless नहीं है. P should be true जब तक कि Q false नहीं है. इसका मतलब क्या? अगर Q true है तो P true होना चाहिए. Q false नहीं है मतलब Q क्या है? Q true है. Right? So जब तक Q true है P true होना चाहिए. तो if Q is true then P should be true is represented using Q implies P. And that's what is being used here. If X then Y unless Z. So if X then Y. If X is true then Y should be true जब तक कि Z true नहीं है. ठीक. So if x is true, then y should be true जब तक z true नहीं है. So if I am saying, let's assume that this thing is nothing but p and this unless z is something z. So can I write it as p unless z? P unless z can be written as negation of z implies p. I just told you p unless q can be written as negation of q implies p. So this p unless z can be written as negation of z implies this p, and this p is actually nothing but if x then y, if x then y is x implies y, if x then y is x implies y, so sir it will become negation of z implies x implies y. Yes or no? Can I think of it like this, that p unless negation q is q implies p. So it says if x is true, then y should be true. If x is true, then y should be true. Let's assume this is p unless z is true. That means जब तक ये z true नहीं है, जब तक ये z true नहीं है, मतलब कि z जब तक ये z false है, इस पूरी चीज को true होना चाहिए. इसका मतलब p को true होना चाहिए. इसका मतलब negation of z implies p. So that's the idea. So it becomes negation of z implies x implies y. Do we see it anywhere? No sir, in the exact form it is not available, but there may be many equivalences. There may be many equivalences for this. So please try to understand. What can I write? Sir, this is negation of z. If I simply open this implication, then this will be z or with x implies y. Z or with x implies y. Now please try to understand. Z or with x implies y can be written as what? Sir, it can be negation of x or with y. Negation of x or with y. Please try to understand that this is disjunction and or is associative. Or is associative. So you can actually see that sir, all of them are implications here. All of them are implications here. Only except this. So this option D can never be true. Option D can never be true. Option D can never be true. But if you want to convert this os in the implication, then what will you do? Sir, you need to combine two and another. So what happens? Sir, when we say P or with Q, then actually becomes negation of P implies Q. Eventually become negation of P implies Q. So please understand that you need to take 2 on the LHS, 1 on the RHS, or 1 on the LHS, 2 on the RHS, whatever the combination is. But please, let's try to understand that with respect to this, what is happening. If you say Z or minus X, Z or minus X or with Y, please try to understand. Can I write it? Can I write it something like negation of negation will be same thing. So negation of another negation moves inside. So this will become negation of Z. This or will become and this negation of X will become X or with Y. So this is the negation of P or with Y. Negation of P or with Y. So this will become what? So whatever this is, that is X and negation Z implies Y. X and negation Z implies Y. Please try to understand, this is just the correct answer in this particular case, but because this disjunction is associative, therefore you can write the same thing in the multiple ways. Therefore I will not waste your time in representing all the different ways, but you know that X or with Y or with Z can be represented in any different format, because first of all R is associative and they are commutative. So if you want to change the order, then also it is possible. Therefore a very good MSQ type of question can be framed from here. Clear? But with respect to this particular case, this is the only correct answer. Therefore I will not discuss remaining 3. You can actually see that this particular thing, whatever we obtained by this particular concept, cannot be converted in any other format. You will be able to check that, right? So you can try to convert this into all possible combinations of commutativity and associativity, and you will realize that none other is possible. Okay sir, so that will be all for this particular question and for this particular session. Tomorrow at the same time, that is at 10:15 p.m., we'll discuss the questions of predicate logic. Propositional logic is quite simple. Propositional logic is very simple. Generally, a student find it difficult to understand the questions of predicate logic, and that too because of those quantifiers, that how should we interpret the quantifier. So therefore I have divided the questions of predicate logic in two different sessions so that I'll be able to discuss more number of questions along with the concepts of those questions. Clear? So tomorrow we will see the predicate logic. This is my Telegram group. You guys can join this Telegram group. If you guys have any doubt, I'll share the PDF of this session in this Telegram group only. So that will be all, guys. Thank you very much. If you liked the video, then please hit the like button. If you are new to the channel, then subscribe for the channel and press the bell icon so that you can get the notification for all our amazing videos. That will be all. Thank you very much. See you tomorrow at the same time at 10:15 p.m. Thank you. Good day.